Hey, what's going on, guys? This is Daniel, one half of the Kwok Brothers, and in this video, we're going to talk about the economic ripple effect of what's happening right now in the market. Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome back. This is Daniel, and before we do anything, don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel for more news and information on what's happening. I got my very, very good friend here, Mr. Michael Conrad, and Michael, for those guys that don't know, is actually my legal representative here in real estate. So not only is he a landlord, but he's also a real estate attorney in my home state of Illinois. And Michael's one of those guys where, you know, every time I have a conversation with him, I learn something about what's happening in the market. I mean, I'm sure you would agree, and you can speak for yourself. You're very up to date on what's going on.
Yeah, I try to be.
And matter of fact, you know, it's very hard for me to find individuals where I can actually have a sophisticated conversation about what's happening in the economy, and what's going on in the market, while understanding the context of what that means for not only real estate, but also other investing vehicles as well. So let's go ahead and get right to it. I'll just chime in whenever I can. We're talking about the economic ripple of what's happening right now. What are your overall thoughts?
Okay, well, obviously we just passed the $2 trillion stimulus package. They're putting the final touches on it. I think it's back in the House now, since you and I have been talking on the matter. That's going to get interesting to see because they, for the most part, as everybody knows, they've pretty much tried to shut down the whole economy as we're existing on the matter. Couple things to keep in mind of what is going to be the outcrop of this. We already know the short-term effect. Basically, you've got people going on furloughs. You've got people being laid off. However, there are some companies that are hiring. You've got Walmart that's hiring, Amazon that's hiring. Certain companies are hiring out there, okay? But there's also going to be probably legislation coming in, as we started to talk when we were off the air a little bit, about what is this implications going to be with China. As I kind of mentioned, 80% of our medical products, from what I'm understanding, are made in China. So now there's a call to bring that back domestically because there's been an interruption in the supply chains. And that even goes not only for products, but what I'm talking about is for pharmaceuticals as well, whether it be the full medication or a component, a major component of that. As far as for the real estate goes, you have to realize a lot of these lenders have credit lines that they've already pulled off of that they're paying interest on anyway, so they've got to get that money out there. So that's going to have an implication. What you're seeing today, at least, and last time, the market doesn't like uncertainty. So the federal government passing that $2 trillion bill, I think you're going to see an uptick, which you have already in the matter. The question is that going to be sustainable? The companies were, at one point when we were recording corporate earnings on the matter, you were looking at things and everything was pretty much bullish still. I mean, we were up to almost 30,000 in the points as far as the Dow goes. Now, the question is 6 to 12 months, where are we going to be? Well, it's going to be depending upon how fast we can pull out of this and how fast this so-called curfew or state of emergency, whatever you want to call it, it comes to a secession on the matter. Yeah. That's going to be part of the problem.
Yeah, and I think you and I, we were talking off the air, and I'm sure you would agree with me when I say I don't know if we've ever had a time where we've seen not only just monetary policy, but fiscal policy just going very, very extreme and very lenient towards putting liquidity back into the market, looking to put cash, increase the money supply. I mean, it's extreme. It's crazy what's going on. Obviously.
You almost have to. At this stage of the game, you almost have to, because what the government has said, and not only has it been the federal government, and they haven't mandated it, but basically the state government has, at least here in Illinois, and a lot of the states are following suit, saying, nope, sorry, unless you are a mandated basically business on the matter that has to be open, your financials, your medicals, things of this nature, grocery stores. But I mean, even now they're starting to shut down the gas stations that are open overnight. So this is all coming down for corporate. All right. So you have the ripple effect that we're talking about here, and this is all going to trickle up, is one, what percentage of the population, first of all, is in the restaurant business? That's going to affect them directly. Okay. Corporate is already being affected because that's going to start going down to, well, your food suppliers and things of this nature, okay? Because let's face it, the American way of life is we like to go out to eat. We like to go out to socialize. You want to go out to a bar. The tourism took a hit. Think about Florida. They shut the beaches down. They shut the bars down. What kind of hits? I was hearing $8 billion for the airlines and the tourism industry. Okay, this is all going to have an effect on everything. The question is, we haven't seen it yet with regards to any type of legislation or any type of call for this, but I've heard certain things in certain circles talking about this. Are we going to defer things as far as mortgage payments to just interest only? They've already done it with your IRS filings now at the federal level. Are they going to do that at the state level as well? What are we doing with property taxes? Okay, these are all things that are coming down the line, and the question is that how can we sustain ourselves? What's the impact on the average building owner that this is going to affect? You've got tenants that are paying your rent on the matter. So the question is, now you need to look and see what kind of a quality of tenants you have. Okay,
Yeah.
what's their occupation?
Right.
All right.
And I think a question I would have for you as well on that subject, I just heard on the news this morning that the Federal Reserve balance sheet is over $5 trillion, which if you think about it is nuts. I don't know if that's ever happened in the history of our country.
Let me go back a little ways.
Yeah,
I'm a little older
please.
than you are, but we'll
Yeah.
go back to the 80s when Reagan was running huge deficits. Okay. And of course you had, the conservative faction was saying, wait a minute, what is this guy doing? We're running up all kinds of deficits because they were spending. At that point, it was a military thing. Okay, as long as the economy is churning and we're producing a good domestic product where we can make the payments on those bills, I think we're okay. Now, there's a flip side to this, which it made the news. There's an oil war between Russia and Saudi Arabia. So I don't know if you've noticed this at the pump, but I've seen gas prices under $2.
Yeah.
In fact, up by me, they're $1.83
Yep.
here in Illinois.
$1.75,
Okay, yeah.
the close one to my house. Yeah.
I don't know when the last time we saw that was, but it's been over a decade.
I think I was like 12. You know what I mean?
It's been at least 10 years,
Yeah.
okay? So I know for a fact the federal government replenished the oil supply, the reserve oil supply. That's the first thing, okay? But that's going to be cheaper, at least with transportation costs, okay? So hopefully that will be a little bit of a help on the matter. The bigger question is that, and this was all part of, if you looked at it, not to talk politics, but we kind of have to talk politics a little bit.
Of course, yeah.
When we're talking about what's going to happen here is, if you remember, part of the plan was in the campaign that Trump ran on was he wanted to bring the manufacturing jobs home. He wanted to bring everything home. He pretty much got his wish, if you will, okay, at this point in time, because now you've got companies like even auto manufacturers, GM, they're making respirators now. Okay, they're gearing up for this. 3M is doing this. Products that we were importing from around the world now because of this, or directly from China, are now coming back, and they're trying to set up things. And I'm sure you're going to see this carried over. There's some senators and representatives who've called, well, should China be held responsible for this? There's a big debate going on now. At the risk of sounding politically incorrect, but they're calling it the Chinese virus,
flu, right?
Okay, the Chinese flu, whatever it is. Okay, I don't want to get into that. It's a virus. It's a virus, whatever you want to call it. Okay, where did it originate from? But some people, of course, human nature being the way it is, they want to point the finger.
Right.
Who caused this? Okay, but again, remember, with what's going on, we're not the only ones who are reacting to this now. You've got Europe now is all doing this. Germany shut its borders. Switzerland shut its borders. Italy basically has all kinds of things going on. Your heart goes out to these people. I talked to somebody from India. He's got relatives. They're shutting everything down over there, from what I'm hearing. Okay, this is all things. The question is how fast is this going to basically hit the peak, and then we don't see any more of the infectious rates.
Right.
New York, from what I heard, just doubled today. They're talking about in the next week and a half, this is going to get worse. Okay. I don't know which side to believe.
Right. And even in terms of speaking of the economic ripple, this ripple doesn't affect just the U.S. economy. It goes everywhere. I heard this morning that, Norway, they just lowered their interest rates, all the way down to 0.25%, which for them is historically low, I believe.
Well, if you remember, in the 80s, Japan was zero or negative.
Yes.
Okay. And they're back down.
They are.
Again.
Yeah.
Okay. So these, where are we going with this? The market is, in my opinion, overreacting a lot of this, but they're reacting to the uncertainty. So you've got a tremendous amount of volatility in there. With regards to real estate, where are we going with this? Again, the question is going to be is what's the final thing on the stimulus bill? What's the final draft on it? Okay. And how fast can they get that money into the economy? Really and truly. Yeah, you're talking about a $5 trillion balance sheet, and I get that. The problem is or not really the problem is the question is that what can we do to start manufacturing more things? Because remember, our economy at one point, they were basing everything off a service economy. We weren't producing anything. For those of you who are members of Shark Tank, how many times they talk about, well, we can send it overseas and get it manufactured cheaper, okay? Well, that's going to start coming home. Now, that may, depending upon what goes on, I think you're going to have to see some reform anywhere you go. No matter what state you live in, I think there's going to be some economic reform going down the line here to the point where, at least till we get back on our feet, because I think these things are coming home. I think they're going to put these people to work again. The question is, how fast can they pick them up?
I agree.
How fast can they gear up for this? Frankly, I would rather be a manufacturing economy if we could, and that's just my opinion on it. I know there's economists out there that'll say, no, we should be a service economy. Okay, but again, when you're manufacturing something as opposed to just servicing it, in my opinion, you've got a product. You're adding value to that product. Whereas if you're just servicing it, somebody else is making the product a lot of times, and you're just basically the middleman for it.
Well, let's wrap up the discussion here on what's going to happen with real estate, because we are primarily a real estate investing YouTube channel. I think for me, and feel free to chime in, with the final thought. But for me, the big question is, if you're looking at the real estate market 3 months, 6 months from now, how hungry are the banks are going to be for liquidity? Because in my opinion, I think based on the level of liquidity that the central banking system is going to want to desire, I think that's going to dictate a lot of short sale opportunities, a lot of potential default rates. I think that's going to dictate how tight the financing is going to be for aspiring real estate investors wanting to move forward.
I think initially, though, you got to remember something. A lot of these lenders already have credit lines that are out. They have to lend that money. They're paying the interest on that money already, okay? The issue that we're going to run into here is if you're loaning on an investment property is what is the risk, okay? Banks don't like this risk. What's your vacancy rate? If you're showing a 5 or a 10% vacancy rate, they may double that to a 20% and see how your numbers pan out. I think that's what you're going to start seeing eventually until we can get more of a handle on it. I think initially they're going to tighten up, okay, at least unless the Fed says, turn on the spigots, let's go, okay, which is quite a possibility. But I think eventually they're going to tighten up a little bit because of the uncertainty. We don't know what our vacancy rates are going to be yet. We don't know what the resounding impact of this is going to be, okay? Remember, Illinois has got, they just put in the curfews. They just put in the state of emergency. I think Indiana just reenacted theirs, okay? But there are states out there, they're not doing that yet. Okay, so again, I think you're going to see also a wide variety depending upon what the impact of this is in the virus.
Yeah, agreed. So let us know what you guys think, in the comment section below. Obviously Michael and I, we traded a lot of different ideas, and Michael's got a very, very big wealth of knowledge and experience. So again, guys, let us know in the comments if you want to chime in on the discussion and you have your own thoughts on what you believe the economic ripple is going to be in the next 3 to 6 months. Let us know, because that way we all learn, right? We all mastermind, we all grow together. It's like a little mental potluck. We all get to enjoy a little bit of everything. So again, guys, subscribe to our YouTube channel. Thanks for joining us. I'll see you guys in the next one.